Hey there, celebration pros. Do I have a treat for you today? We have Randi Bushell. She is the creator of Merri. And let me tell you just a little bit about this brilliant woman. She's the founder and CEO of Merri, as I said, which is a collaborative software bridging the gap between event professionals through immersive 3D technology. Like, all you have to do is say that, and I'm already like leaning in, excited to learn more. It offers hands-on design tools and integrative workflows, having built her career in e-commerce as a strategic leader for national brands like Macy's, Walmart, Jet.com. Like, we know all of those. Bushnell founded Merri as the business solution she needed when planning her wedding in 2018. Named an industry disruptor by Authority magazine, Bushnell's commitment and innovation has led Merri to become one of the fastest growing platforms in the event industry. So this is your cue to like pause, Google Merri, come back over. Randi was also recently listed in Eventex's 100 most influential people in the event industry. Randi, thank you like so many times for being here in Celebration Pros, sharing what you've learned and what you have to offer. This is going to be an awesome conversation today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So I love the line here that is, you saw that there was a gap in the industry when you were doing your own planning, for your big day. And I think a lot of industry pros, that's kind of where their passion is born from. Can you tell us a little bit about like how, like that story and how that progressed?
Yeah, it's like such a vivid memory. So happy to. So, I would say that I'm the type of person who is like missing the part of my brain that allows you to visualize something that isn't physically in front of you.
Okay. Yeah.
And so many of, your listeners' clients are probably like that. And so there was one night when we were kind of like 3 or 4 months out from our wedding. I was in bed. I said it's a vivid memory. And we needed to order our like menus and place cards and like all the like day of decor stuff. And so I created a PowerPoint slide and I took screenshots of like different options of the menus for Minted. And then I Googled like gray velvet tablecloth because we were having like different textured gray linens. And then I took like an image of a brick wall and I made that as the backdrop because it was like a loft for our venue. And I was kind of like arranging and cropping things in this PowerPoint slide. And I was like, this is asinine. Like, how is this how I'm making these decisions that cost a lot of money? And you really only have one chance to get it right. So that was that like acute pain point moment when I, had the very stereotypical, like there has to be a better way moment. But also leading up to that, you mentioned it in my bio, I worked in e-commerce for 10 years. And so when I had that realization, I was like, wouldn't it be cool if there was like a shopping experience where I could see, the menus and the linens and the lighting and the florals, et cetera, all in one place. And by the way, the only way for that to be really valuable is if it was also like within the context of my venue, in 3D. Similar to, products that exist for interior design, where you can see your, sofa from Pottery Barn and your couch, your table from wherever. So that was that night in like late 2018 and here we are,
Which is so like before its time in a way, because now like if you're on Amazon and you're like, oh, this is a cute lamp, it's like show it in your room, right?
yes.
And it's so you had this idea before it was really a popular thought, which that's pretty incredible that you got to that point. Funny enough, when I was my former wedding planner life, I used PowerPoint for all of my designs, and there's a lot you can do in PowerPoint.
Oh yeah.
But there's also a lot of limitations. You're not able to have that 3D experience. You're limited to what you can pull in and what you can do with images. But that was how I designed everything. So I love that you like started in the same place too.
Yeah. I mean, PowerPoint and Canva are great tools.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, Canva wasn't as I don't even know when Canva was launched. I should probably know that, but I don't think it was available at that time. So all right. Well, the tech space, now that we're getting into that, it's just like a lot of people don't even want to go in the tech space because it's like, what if I choose the wrong app and I spend all this time in this app or platform and it doesn't do what I hope it did, or I don't even know where to start, kind of thing. Before we get into like the specifics of, maybe what Merri can offer, what can you tell our listeners who want to leverage tech tools but feel intimidated? Like, what's that mindset that they need to go into this with?
So I think everyone's gut reaction is to try to like boil the ocean and solve for everything all at once. And I understand why, that's what people want to do. Of course, we want to solve all of our problems. But I really, really, really recommend getting specific and trying to solve, more acute specific pain points, one or two at a time.
Mm-hmm.
It might take you longer to solve all of your problems, but you reduce your risk of, like you said, kind of opting into a quote unquote all-in-one solution that once you kind of get up and running, you realize, oh, it doesn't actually do this one thing that I thought it did because it's trying to do everything, right? So look at what your pain points are, look at what your business needs are, and try to get more specific with the platforms and the technology that you need to kind of bring in to help you.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it's also important to not be afraid to ask for advice, do a little bit of research, see what other people are using. We all have connections in the industry, and see if maybe there were, I wouldn't have known of any of the tools that I use in my business had I not been exposed to them by chatting with other people and saying, what do you use for scheduling? What do you use for CRM? What do you use for email marketing, or whatever it might be? And then comparing and seeing which one fits what you do specifically.
Yeah. And also leverage what the different tech companies offer in terms of demos and free trials, especially during your, I don't want to call it downtime because I feel like wedding pros are always busy, but you're in Florida, like July is probably not your busiest season, right? So take July to look at your business, figure out what you need, and do some of those free trials.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yep. We're definitely in that season where it's just everything is an outdoor wedding here, right? I mean, not all of them, that's generalizing, but the majority of people come to Florida to have palm trees in the background and not sweat. Yeah. So that's definitely relevant right now. Okay. So if someone were to choose one tech tool to begin with, and feel free to be like, oh, Merri, for sure, like you've built this as your baby. What would you say would be like the go-to starting place?
Yeah.
Walk
So
us
I think
through
it goes back to being specific with what you need and who you are. So, if you are a planner who does not offer design services, like I actually wouldn't really offer, say Merri is your number one tool. You probably should have some sort of like diagramming solution in your back pocket, but depends on kind of the services that you provide. And what your biggest pain points are today. So I'm not going to give you a specific answer beyond saying like, okay, if you are a planner and you are design centric or you want to offer design services, yes, you need Merri. That should be at the top of your list. Because we really bring this concept of like 3D design, tying in, your floor plans with the rentals and decor to the next level. But if you are someone who's like, I don't really do that, but right now I find myself spending way too much time following up on unpaid invoices, like I would have a totally different recommendation for you.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that you should look at the core components of your business as, how am I acquiring customers? How am I sending out like contracts, invoices, et cetera? So really like your back office. And then how am I servicing my clients? Those are the three buckets that I tend to, really for any business, by the way, look at like my processes and tools in. And then, okay, what are the point? You can either say, okay, this bucket is where I'm struggling, so I'm going to invest here, or these are all of the kind of sub points in each of those buckets. And these are the one or two sub points where I'm struggling, so I'm going to invest there.
Right. So for those of you listening in, this is a great point to pause, go back, and then kind of listen to that as almost journal prompts. Think of what your three buckets are, and then go through that kind of brainstorming activity. And then that's really going to bring clarity to where you could really use some automative resources. Maybe it's, whatever that app or platform is that can support you. Perfect. I love that I'm actually doing some of that right now, because I feel like this is where I'm at. I'm on the other end. I have too many resources that I'm using.
That happens too.
Right? Like totally overwhelmed. And I'm like, okay, well, what platforms offer multiple of these things so that I'm not having to pay 10 subscriptions? Or is there an app that I'm not using fully that maybe is offering some of the other solutions? So there's that too. If you've gotten too far into it, take the time to like review what's working and what's not working.
Yeah. The only other thing I will add, using that framework of, how am I acquiring customers? How am I running my back office? And then how am I servicing my customers? What are the activities that you're doing that are completely like monotonous and repeatable? Because those are the things that you absolutely should automate. And I can pretty much guarantee you that there's a product out there for you.
Yeah. Yep. And if there's not, what an opportunity to create one. See that gap and create something new. And then I was curious, I kind of threw this question in last, because I've always thought this was kind of, it's a question that people have and they don't really know the answer to, especially the solo entrepreneurs who are trying to save time, create more income, start scaling their business a little bit. What do you think is the biggest difference or the different benefits between using a resource like Merri or other platform, and then actually hiring a physical person to come in and help you with tasks?
Yeah, so I would look at it across a few variables. The first would be like a very simple pricing analysis. So let's use Merri as an example. I think this is actually a really straightforward example. So Merri for event planners costs $19 a month for like our professional package for unlimited events. Okay.
That's great.
That is you buying into technology to offer this service to your clients. Hiring a 3D artist, not even full-time, just on a job by job basis, is typically at least $1,000 a job, at least, and so that to me is an obvious example of where, technology scales more than, hiring a human being. But then there might be, a totally opposite example where you maybe need that human touch, right? And there just isn't a platform out there that is more cost effective than hiring someone. So I think an example there might be like a virtual assistant, or someone who, helps with some of your creative content. Like you can subscribe to Canva. We already talked about Canva, and Canva is amazing what it's done to, turn non-creative people into, a graphic artist, but it's still pretty time consuming. And quite frankly, I'm just bad at it. So even though I have the tech, like I pay for Canva, like I should not be trusted with it. I'm terrible at it. And so I am better off hiring someone to do that work. So the first thing would be like pure play price analysis. Like, does this make sense? And then if it does make sense from a pricing perspective, can you do it yourself, even with technology? Because if not, then, it might be worth the additional spend to hire someone.
Yes. No, I think that makes a lot of sense. And then you have those moments where, technology can't fill in for the assistance that you need on the event day, right? Like there's going to be, there's going to be certain things where we have to be there, and then leveraging those resources, and whether it be tech or having a person helping you in the background, having those in place so that you can show up when you need to physically.
Exactly. And like using tech to make all of your humans more efficient, right? Yes. So on the day of the event, making sure that everybody has, the floor plan and the runner show and everything through the platforms that you've subscribed to, so that maybe you need as few people as possible, but also those people are as happy as possible because they're not running around like crazy.
Yeah, I think that was the perfect overview of the difference, because I think a lot of times people are sitting in their offices and they're like, what, $9 a month resource can I use to change the way this business runs, right? And sometimes it's a mix of maybe hiring somebody in to manage those resources. So now all that's being taken care of for you, so you can focus on the bigger picture. It's perfect. Okay, a little bit of Q&A for you if you're ready. Right. Okay, so the one thing, you know, being that this is a, you know, business related podcast, I love, and this can be, you know, professional development focused, or it could be just what's entertaining you right now, which is either way. What are you reading and or listening to?
All right, this is kind of lame, but on the reading front, I'm a new mom.
Yeah.
And so I'm reading, my daughter is now 9 weeks old, and I'm just reading my first parenting book, but I'm reading, I think it's called like How the Happiest People Raise Children. It's about like the Danish parenting method. So obviously they are known to be, I shouldn't say obviously, people might not know this, but the Danish people are the happiest people on earth. And it has a lot to do with, you know, their lifestyle and how they bring up their children. So I'm learning about, you know, how they do it and their methods. So I'll report back on what I learned.
Yes, I love that.
And then in terms of listening to, this is also kind of lame, but given I'm, you know, a founder, I'm always listening to Guy Raz, How I Built This, to just hear the stories behind, you know, a lot of the tech companies and non-tech companies too, like founding stories and their troubles. And it kind of humanizes everyone and everything.
Yeah, makes us feel not so alone in all this, right? Yeah, I love that. That's perfect. Okay, so in 1 year, if you and I were popping a bottle of champagne, what might we be celebrating for you, business or life?
Oh man.
Besides your baby's first birthday.
I think on the business side, I guess I'll answer this in a roundabout way. I think the past 4 years, pandemic aside, have been kind of this like snowball effect of like, there hasn't been this one thing that happened that like shot us up and like changed our trajectory. Like it's just been this slow roll and like this kind of climbing of like little things happening and just trying to be consistent and working hard and doing things that have kind of brought us to where we are. And so I think that maybe in a year I would be celebrating growth feeling easier because we've gotten the momentum of that snowball, right? So like we're kind of, what is the saying? Like you're pushing a boulder uphill, is what like starting a business feels like. And maybe in a year is that like tipping point of like, you just have the momentum and things just start feeling easier.
Yeah, I can very much relate to that currently. We just keep on keeping on, but consistency is, I mean, it's key, it's king, it's what gets you to the success. So okay, and what do you have coming up? If there's anything special you want to share with our listeners, and where can they find you?
Yeah, so you know, nothing major in terms of coming up. We're always releasing new features. And so for any of your listeners, if you've been kind of early Merri subscribers, you know this, that the platform 4 years ago is nothing like what it looks like today. And in 2 to 4 months from now, it'll look totally different. So we're always making things better, always listening to feedback across, you know, event planners, venues, rental companies, caterers. We work with everyone. So it's really exciting. We are now live. This was an accident, by the way, in 64 countries.
Oh, wow.
And every US state. And so, you know, if you are a planner, you know, in a major metro city or not, feel free to, you know, give Merri a try, and we can always render anything you need.
I have a question. Can you render outdoor areas?
We do a ton of outdoor areas. Yep.
That's a big one.
Yeah, we do a lot of, I shouldn't say we do, our users create a lot of tented events and like private residences, things like that. So just the way that it works at a super high level is, as long as you can send us like a Google Earth image or like a basic floor plan, we can create a 3D model.
That's incredible. That would be so useful here, just geographically where we are in South Florida. Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. And then where can we find you?
You can find us on Instagram, just at Merri. And our website is bemerri.com. BEMERRI.com.
Perfect. Yes, Merri is MERRI, just so to clarify. So at Merri and bemerri.com. Amazing, Randi. I think this was a conversation that is going to make people think about where they're standing in their business, and hopefully give them the courage to do that brainstorming exercise and maybe even reach out to you for some solutions through Merri. I mean, $19 a month for, I think that is invaluable. Do it before that price goes up, y'all, because
it's a steal.
She's undercharging. All right. Well, Randi, thank you so much for being here. I can't wait to just continue to follow you and hopefully collaborate with you soon in the future.
Thank you so much. Have a good one.